Hello, beautiful vegans. Thank you for joining us. If you're wanting to learn more about whole food, fiber, and the microbiome, you're in the right place. I'm Mariquita, a vegan empowerment coach, and I help vegans who are struggling in anger, depression, and sadness. My heart goes out to you if you can relate to this. It can be a challenge. So I help vegans move from that sadness into power and peacefulness and effective activism. I work one-on-one with vegans in in a coaching program, and I also have group coaching programs which are really fun and supportive, and just we have a lot of laughs and a lot of tears sometimes, but we move forward. So it's exciting. So today on my Empowered Vegans live stream, I'm excited to welcome Demchok. Jason has 30 years cooking experience in 15 different countries. He spends his days busily teaching people the ABCs of whole food, plant based cooking. So, this is something that I recently discovered whole food plant-based lifestyle, and it's exciting. I've changed my eating and I feel so much better. So I'm excited
I think you're breaking up. Oh no. Is anybody there? I guess I can't see anybody, but she told me if this happens to keep talking. So I hope she comes back. But yeah, I guess we're going to talk today about the difference between whole food and vegan, those two terms, and a little about me. Yeah, I actually wasn't always a whole food plant based. It's actually, oh boy, I don't know what happened. So yeah, I I had done, like, some people, they become vegan for they care about the animals and they just can't eat the animals. And then later they find out if they do it whole food plant based, it's actually healthier than eating, you know, animal products. But I actually saw this like meme and it said like I came for the health and I stayed for the animals. And I feel like that really sort of sums me up because as a kid I really didn't like eating the animals, and I remember my parents telling me like if I don't eat the chicken, I'm going to be a what they told me.
All right, here we go. We're back on. So
Oh my god,
everybody,
I was just talking. I don't know if anyone was listening or what.
who knows? But anyway, okay, here we go again. Let's take.
Oh
I
my
don't know
god.
what to tell you all about the internet, but for you all probably know about the internet, and it does what it wants to do. So let's pray that that we're on, and nevertheless, who knows what I was saying? But okay, so if you're watching, please give StreamYard permission to um, use your name. And Jason, I guess everyone heard you. So you all met Jason while I was away. So everybody, it's exciting that you're here, and hopefully I will be able to join you for this whole broadcast without flipping in and out. So there's a lot to talk about: whole food, plant based, vegan, and how to eat for our gut, what's going on. So let's get down to it, Jason. Let's hear about your journey, and welcome, first of all.
Thank you. So again, I don't know where I got, but it's so much. I feel so much better with you here. And I just wanted to say, I think I need to join one of your groups like ASAP because I'm experiencing a lot of anger and sadness. Oh no, not again. Oh, you're back.
Oh
Okay,
no, am I freezing?
you froze for
Okay.
a second.
I don't know what to do.
But yeah, like
Okay.
I,
Well,
I got to hear about your group. But yeah, for me, um, you know, uh, like some people. Okay, good. Yeah, some people. they just can't eat an animal. They just in their heart they're like, I can't do it, and they trust that instinct, you know. And for me, at a young age, I never wanted to eat animals, but my parents were like, if you don't eat chicken, you're going to have anemia, you're going to get sick. So I was really reluctant, but I finally went in. I mean, I ate a lot of cheese, you know, but then I actually, like, when I moved out, like, I became vegetarian, but I was still eating again a lot of cheese and all that kind of stuff. And but I really did like the way I was, like, I thought, even though it's not true, I thought I was helping the animals by just eating dairy, you know, but and eggs. But then I found out. Oh, and then I found out about, like, the paleo and the keto. I fell into that, like, black hole, and I really started to believe, if I don't start getting meat and bone soup, all these toxic foods into me, I was going to have my teeth fall out. I was going to fall apart. You know, so then that really, I went down that path for quite a while. Like, I did it for my health. Like, so I was just going to say, a lot of your listeners are probably, like, much better people than me, because, like, they were like, I'm eating vegan because they just care about the animals. Me, I'm like, once I thought, okay, I love the animals, but if I have to eat them, I'm just going to eat them because I have to take care of my health. But then, to like my pleasant surprise, I found out actually that eating the plants is actually way healthier. So for me, it was overnight. It was just like, oh my God, I just went through the science in like a month, and I did it, and that was it. But I do struggle, like, trying to explain it, but I do my best to do as much research as I can with people, like, a lot smarter than me, and learn from them, and just try to break it down into easy, like, digestible bites. And I also do that with my food. I also, because I guess that gets me to where what I do real quickly is basically, I noticed a lot of plant-based people, they they know all the science, they know what to avoid, they can, like, repeat it, they can take the test and pass the test, but even the doctors, they don't know how to actually cook it, like, and do it, like, efficiently with this time constraint. Like, we're all, like, have so much more distractions now than ever. But to me, like, food is so important. Like, and I created a program to, like, do this, like, super efficient and super inexpensive. As you probably know, if you're doing whole food plant-based, not vegan necessarily, but whole food plant-based, you really do save a ton of money. And I show you how to save a ton of time by cooking, like, all the staples, the beans, the potatoes, all the whole grains, prepping them, and then having it for the week. And you can make different creations with it.
Well, that's very important, because at first I thought, well, how am I going to do this? And last night I tried, and I did it. I made a lentil little loaf, like a lentil instead of meatloaf, right? A lentil loaf. And that was a big thing for me.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. I chopped up all these vegetables, and now I know how basically it goes. So now I can put in different things. I might switch to my phone here if this thing keeps cutting out.
Okay, you've been good for the last couple minutes, so that's good.
Okay. But yeah, that was exciting for me. And so, whole food plant based, definitely. I mean, there can be whole food plant based and vegan, or I have a lot of friends that are whole food plant based, also vegan together, right? That's what I am, whole food plant based and vegan. So I didn't even know what whole food plant based was. So, and then that brings up a lot of issues. Um, Hopefully, I'm still here. I see
Yeah,
my
you're here.
signal. Okay. So, there's a lot of issues with people fighting about, well, vegans getting angry at whole food plant based. And then I know that, well, I know of a circumstance when my friend who's whole food plant based, was going to deliver a talk to a whole food plant based. He's whole food plant based vegan, so he's going to deliver a talk to a whole food plant based community. And they said, if you're putting vegan on it, you can't do the talk. And he said, I know. Well, he said, well, I'm going to put vegan on it, so I'm just not going to be able to do the talk. So what's the issue here with this fighting about whole food plant based and vegan? How do you see that?
So interesting. Well, that goes back to what I was saying is that actually, yeah, I didn't even finish my story, and this ties right back to it. Like, I found out that being whole food plant based was actually the healthiest. And then after I did that, I'm like, wow, now I'm not eating the animals. Like, this is such a bonus. So that's why I said, like, I did it for the health, but I stayed for the animals. And then unexpectedly, like, I started feeling like when I saw even chickens, every animal, knowing that I wasn't exploiting them for any purpose, I just felt like so much more. My heart was open because if you're going to eat something, you have to, on some level, like repress your love for them because how else can you justify eating them? So now that I wasn't doing this mental gymnastics with like, I love the animals, but I have to eat them because or else I'm not going to be my best. I'm not, all the myths, which I really want to talk about in the future. Like I'll make a presentation about all the myths on what you, but that's another story. Um, so I think I'm both, yeah, whole food, plant based, and vegan. I guess I started off like quote unquote like whole food plant based, and then it was like a bonus that I'm like, oh yeah, I get to be vegan. I wouldn't have a problem putting vegan on it. And I guess I could understand because there's like a stigma, I guess, with the vegan part. So
Yeah, there can be.
I usually say whole food plant based because if you're truly whole food plant based or plant exclusive, it automatically means you're vegan. Vegan is like they say is like a philosophical system, like it's a belief, and whole food plant based is more like a way of eating, a diet.
Right. Yeah. And so vegan, it still goes into the like no leather and none of that. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, they're great stepping stones for either way. Either way you
Exactly.
come in, right? And you can come in
Exactly.
whole
That's a
food
good way to put
plant-based,
it.
right? And so we don't have to hate the other side. That's
Well,
very
that's why
interesting.
to me it's like such a no brainer, and that's why it kind of is so frustrating because it really is good for you. So that's like the whole. If you're doing it whole food plant based, it's really good for you. It's good for the animals. It's good for the environment. It's like it's a win-win. So I just wanted to say that the difference is really because you could be vegan philosophically, but still eat like all of the standard American diet. You could still be eating chips, cupcakes. That's all vegan. But to be plant based, whole food plant based means as much as possible you're eliminating foods where the fiber is taken away
So tell us
because
about that. How does that even work? How do they take the fiber away, or give us some?
like for example, no, sorry, no, that's a good question. For example, when you make orange juice, you're getting the juice, you're taking the fiber away. When you eat the orange, you're getting the fiber. Or
Oh,
like white rice versus brown rice, or eating an olive versus eating olive oil. One of them you're eating the fiber, and the other one they're taking the fiber away and just giving you mostly the calories, the fat and the oil, or the sugar and the. So when the way a lot of people oversimplify things, they're like, oh, you're getting all these carbs from an orange. And again, I was in that world where I was afraid to eat a fruit. I really was, and now I enjoy fruit. They're so satisfying. But um, when you eat it, again, I don't know the exact science. I'm trying to learn more about it. But when you eat an orange, the whole food, and it has the fiber, it has the vitamins, it has the polyphenols, all of that stuff completely changes the way it affects your pancreas secreting the insulin. So that's the difference between like a Coke or even an orange juice and an orange. So it's just really fascinating. So when I heard that, my mind, like, in fact, like when you eat berries, it has a positive, even though they have sugar in them, the benefits of all the antioxidants and everything in them has a positive effect on your blood sugar. So it was like when I heard all this stuff after being in like the low carb world for like 10 years, really almost, it was like, this is so interesting. I never heard this. So it's, again, now I'm around people who aren't vegan or plant-based, and they're like, I hear what they say and I'm like, no, that's not true. So it's really frustrating.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of myths out there, like you're saying. And
Exactly.
so, yeah, hi, Tiffany, and hi, JJ, and whoever else is saying hello. Many whole food plant-based people still wear leather and eat honey. That's true. Yes, that's
Interesting.
true. So, what about this bone broth? Tell me about that, because that's some magic that people think. What is that stuff?
Okay, this is a great question. And this is something that I really want to put in my MythBuster thing, because and again, I have to admit, like, I bought into this trend. And if you really think about it, like, it's a byproduct of like factory farming. They have all these bones, so they figured out a way to sell it. But basically, the idea is, when you're eating red meat, you're getting a bunch of amino acids in the muscle meat, but there's like 3 amino acids. I might mess this up, but it's like glycine is one I know is there. And then I think it's valine and provaline. And these 3 amino acids make the connective tissue, which holds your gut together, holds your skin together. So when the people put in collagen cream on, it does absolutely nothing, right? But then they got to the next step was, oh, let's sell them the collagen on the inside. So bone broth or collagen, it's basically, you're taking the collagen of, like, in between your bones, there's this collagen. So they're taking that collagen from fish and animals, turning it into a powder, flavoring it with like stevia and all this crazy stuff, and claiming when you eat this, you're eating the collagen. It's like a very simplistic idea. You eat the collagen, and now the collagen is going to go right to your bones. But that's not how it works. When you eat collagen, it has to break it down into the amino acids. Then it has to be transported to the cells that are going to make the collagen. When you eat like cabbage and beans, you break down the exact same amino acids. So, and then your body can make the collagen from just the cabbage and the beans. So this is like, so the whole idea of the bone broth is like, if you drink the collagen, you're going to get more collagen. But this is like biology 101. And like, people with PhDs are writing books on this bone soup. And it's so much even worse than that. Like, animals, I learned this from Dr. Lou. She's like an expert in environmental toxins. Like, animals, your bones and accumulate toxins. So there's toxins everywhere, heavy metals, and these animals are in horrible conditions, and they're being fed genetically modified food, right? So it's all accumulating in their bones. So now when you have this bone soup, you're literally getting like all these heavy metals, and you could just eat plants and get the same benefit.
That's crazy. I mean, yeah, we're so misled. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
again, that goes back to the protein thing, well, I've got to eat animals to get protein. And no, you don't. You don't
right.
have to.
Because collagen's a protein. That's exactly right. So it's the same thing with your muscles. Like, gorillas are eating leaves all day and fruits, and they're building giant muscles, and elephants. And, it's so funny when you think about it, like that, like, people are actually, I mean, it's so sad. It really triggers me all the time that people actually believe and will defend it, without any scientific research or even considering like what I just said about the collagen. They just like, no, you got to eat meat. You have to eat it.
Listen, what about people that talk to you? Do they believe you or no?
Oh, this is so funny that you bring it up, because that's why I need to come to your support group, because I'm really struggling, and I actually made it. I kind of bounce this off of you, I kind of made a decision just yesterday that I think I'm only, because I have a whole food cooking program, right? But I have so many non-vegans, non-whole food people who get very interested because they taste my food and like, oh my God, this is the most delicious thing. And then like, oh my God, I feel so good after eating your food. These are people who eat meat every day. I'm like, yeah, I have a program. I can teach you how to make everything you just ate in 30 days. And then they're like, yeah, it sounds great. But then it turns into arguing with them because they're like, what about this? What about this? And I have the answers, but I don't want to spend my time doing it. So I have a few coaches I know who are plant-based coaches. Like health coach, I'd rather just like, hey, talk to this person. Come back to me when you're already plant-based. Like, so in other words, I don't want to work with people unless they're already plant-based because I just get too argumentative with people. So if you're already plant-based, I can help them, cook better. And it's just like, it would be so much easier to deal with. Like, I guess that you have that, right? Like, this is your community. So you're always with
Right.
them. I was thinking, yeah.
We let go of, with my clients in my programs, we let go of the outcome of the agenda, right? We just allow, right? But of course, for myself, I have, I set up. If I'm not careful, I will set up. This is what I'm going to say, and this is what they're going to say. And when it doesn't go my way, then I get very angry. So I have to make sure to only say, this is what I'm going to say, and I welcome their response.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's exactly why I really feel like called upon to almost like maybe write a book even, but at least start with a presentation where I just debunk a few myths and start from there. Because I feel like it's all inside of me. And instead of just like people like asking me questions or texting me a question, I'm like, oh, I don't want to answer this. Just put out a presentation and be like, watch my presentation, so.
Yeah, those are good ideas. To whatever questions they have, make a video on that.
Yeah, it's always the same questions. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, make videos on that. And then Tiffany's saying she saw a video last night, and they had a lady, Sally, who has a company making vegan bone broth.
Oh, that's really good. Actually, I make an amazing broth myself. And I put various mushrooms in there and different seaweeds and different like turmeric, all different spices. So yeah, exactly. It's like so powerful. I call it rainbow, whole food rainbow, like hot pot. And it's like, so you're, yeah, exactly. You're getting all the things that build your bones. You don't need to eat the bones. So I like that. It builds your bones, not.
Right. That's really good. And I've been making a lot of broths and miso soup. I've been trying to make that, but then I read on the internet that they use some sort of fish thing, and I wonder if it's a lot of times
I'll give you
tell me about that.
Because I used to, so they do use this fish flake. Because I actually lived in Japan for 2 years, and I learned that's where I did a lot of cooking, learning, and stuff. So all you really need though is the kombu, which is kelp, and they sell it in like little blocks, and then you can get the shiitake mushroom, like a dried shiitake mushroom, and you let it sit in a pot of water overnight, and then that's really how you could start. And then you add the miso to that.
Well, I have some
videos. You don't need the fish. In other words, you don't need if you make it yourself. In fact, most restaurants they don't even do it properly. They just do some, and everything is MSG. It's like it's so crazy.
Yeah, everything is MSG. You're right. I do know that, I'm glad to hear that they don't usually use the fish stuff. And
no, not in the miso paste. The miso paste, it should have one ingredient. I could send you some links. Just get the organic miso paste, and then you could make it with like mushroom. I could share some stuff with you.
Oh no, yeah. I'm disappearing.
No, you're good. Okay. You're good.
Well, all right. Yeah, I need to add mushrooms and some little green onions to miso soup and then rice. I love that because I worked in a Japanese restaurant and a Chinese restaurant for a long time, and I loved eating miso soup. So I want to make sure that I'm eating the safe stuff. You never know. But so tell us about the microbiome, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around what is that. What is that? What is a microbiome?
Yeah, this is good. I'm trying to. I like this because I'm really trying to make it like really fun for people to understand. So you can think of it like this: like you have your brain, you have your heart, in your gut or in your colon, like below your belly button. Inside of there are 10 times more living bacteria that are like technically separate from you, so to speak, than all of the human cells in the rest of your body. In other words, most of you is in that gut. Most of what makes your body work is in that gut. And it's like the ancient people used to say, like, all disease starts in the gut, right? And we have completely lost the wisdom to that. And like antibiotics, like kill that off, and like the chlorinated water. So, but this gut is obviously resilient. But okay, so having said that, it's really important, right? And let's put it this way: if you're eating like a plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet, you're eating like an omnivore diet, or you're eating a carnivore diet, you're going to have three completely different environments of bacteria. And there's like tens of thousands of different species, and they all interact. And it turns out when you eat a whole food plant-based diet, and I'll go one step further, because I'm whole food plant-based, but I'm also, I also like qualify that with also diverse fiber. So whole food plant-based diet with diverse polyphenols and diverse fiber. And this is from the book Fiber Fueled. So basically, the more different vegetables you eat, like broccoli, like if you could eat like 70, I forget the numbers, like you get them, and also polyphenols are the different colors. So the more colors and the more different fibers you eat, you're going to get a more robust microbiome. And just think, like, they do everything good for the body, including when you have a lot of the good, like, okay, for example, I teach how to make sauerkraut, right? What you're doing in sauerkraut is almost like recreating what's happening in your colon. You're breeding the good bacteria. So once you have the sauerkraut made, you could leave it out of the refrigerator for months, because I don't recommend that, but you can, because it's the good bacteria are creating like a protection against the bad bacteria. So when you eat fermented foods, prebiotic foods, like, all fiber, it really comes down to fiber and polyphenols. You're creating an entire different like environment, like a universe. It's almost like a universe. You're creating a whole universe, and that, it turns out, the whole food plant-based people are by far the healthiest, because they make the butyrate. And the
They make what?
They make something called butyrate. It's a short chain fatty acid, and that's what closes up your gut. So the reason why most people are sick is because they have tiny little holes in their colon, and that's causing food to get out. And when food gets into the bloodstream, it'll be deadly. So it activates their immune system. So their immune system is like they're constantly at war. They're constantly fighting it. Whereas when you eat whole food plant-based, especially things like apples, it's like creates your gut lining, and it keeps the bacteria inside the gut, and the food inside the gut, and then everything works better. All you have to know, though, is to eat whole food plant-based and as much diverse colors and different fibers as possible. And again, in my program, that's exactly what you do, like on a weekly basis. Like, you're getting all these different things like very easily.
So all right. So what damage, let's say you're eating meat and dairy,
Yeah.
what does that do to the microbiome?
Okay. Great question. So I had this guy, Jeff Palmer. He's a plant-based vitamin. Yeah, he was on my show, and he's like my hero. He does what I want to do. He goes into some deep research, right? So it turns out when you're eating, listen to this, like I learned this from him. Like when you're eating meat, when you're eating meat, you breed two specific bacteria that they identified. One of them is like necro something, which necro means like dead. And one of them is like something else. But basically, it's like the bacteria that break down our body when we die. So think about it. When you're eating meat, you're bringing in the very bacteria that eat you when you die. So, and you also create something called TMAO. It's a chemical which has been linked to heart disease and cancer. So when you eat eggs, basically the carnitine and the choline turn into TMAO. And so That's what happens when you're eating meat. Like you have a completely different microbiome. And that's why it's so crazy, like for some people to switch over, because they're so like they literally have like a whole different universe inside of them that's telling them to go get meat.
Okay, so so all right. So well, sometimes people say I can't eat vegetables and fruit, and so is it because they're so used to eating meat that their stomachs don't? I mean, that their gut isn't going to say, okay, tell me, tell me.
Yeah, you asked such great questions. That's so. I was all in. So admittedly was pretty gassy for like months, you know. But you're right. Like I think it's probably like Dr. B in Fiber Fuel recommends like, or somewhere I read like, if you have a hard time with beans, like start off with like 3 beans a day. Just have 3 of them, just so you can start to breed those bacteria. It's kind of like a chicken and the egg. If you don't have the bacteria, it's hard to break down the fiber. But if you don't eat the fiber, it's hard to get the bacteria. So you have to eat little by little bacteria. But here's the problem, and this is what we're up against, is like they have everybody convinced now that plants like are dangerous and they have toxins in them. So then people eat some beans, they get a little bloated, and they're like, you see, you're not supposed to be eating beans. And then they're like, yep, I had a problem with beans. But that's why I really feel like it's important to educate people on the big picture of, you know, like reversing diabetes and heart disease, all these things that have studies behind them.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, because I do know a lot of people that say, I see, you're right. Like, see, I can't do it. I tried it and it didn't work. Well, so you're right. We have like start off slow and introduce, because if your body is so used to, I mean, let's say 40, 50, 60 years of eating meat
Yes.
and dairy, that then you introduce something healthy. Yeah, I can really see.
All those bacteria die off, and when they die off, you know, you're going to feel that, and then you don't have enough, like the bacteria that break down the beans or the broccoli. You haven't been feeding those guys in so long. So that's why in the beginning, and I'm not a doctor, but you know, I can introduce them to Dr. Lou, and she has a good product that actually introduces some bacteria back in. I'm a food guy, so I'm big into fermentation, like fermented vegetables. And it's like it takes 5 minutes to prepare it, and I teach it. It's so simple, and people have been doing it for like 10,000 years, and we've been doing up until like 100 years ago. Everyone's grandparents did it, and we just stopped because we have like all this machinery, and it's horrible because that's literally putting those bacteria and a whole bunch of more things into your gut on a daily basis. So even if you just have a jar of sauerkraut, like you can make it yourself. It's so simple.
How do you make it?
But you know what? If you or any of your listeners are interested, reach out to me and I will give. So I have my program has 8 videos. One of them is the fermented vegetable. So I'll give that as a gift to any of your listeners. Just give me some feedback. That's all because right now I'm developing it. But like basically what you're doing is you're creating an environment. Like there's already bacteria in the cabbage. It's like amazing, this whole way, how all of nature is connected. So the bacteria, there's all types of bacteria in the air. But in the cabbage, there's a good bacteria that we want in our guts. So when you put it in salt water, what you're doing is, because we're salt water, you're allowing, and not too much salt, obviously, you're allowing these bacteria to eat the sugars in the vegetables. And that creates a fermentation process. They create like vinegar. They create what tastes like vinegar. So it gets sour. But in the process, they're also creating enzymes and B vitamins and C vitamins. And I mean, like the amount of research, like if you could make a drug that did as much as fermented vegetables, it would be the best-selling drug on the market. But because it's like this simple, delicious food, and I go crazy. Like I'll throw like pickles and celery, fresh turmeric, ginger, hot peppers. I put everything in there and ferment away, you know? So I always have things being made.
Wow. So is that the same as beets, or is that different?
You can ferment beets. Now, again, if you go to the supermarket and you see something on the shelf, it's been pasteurized. Once something's pasteurized, all of the good bacteria are dead. You just killed them, right?
Oh,
So even even the yogurt that you get in the store, they've shown that most of the bacteria by the time you get it are dead. You just make it yourself. It's the easiest thing to make, like literally 5 minutes, and you have a week's worth of this stuff. But yes, you can ferment beets. That's one of like a superfood, like, like the Russians, they all do that. And it turns out like it makes nitric oxide. Um, it opens up your blood vessels. It's great for working out. But you can do pickled beets. You can literally ferment any vegetable pretty much. Like obviously pickles, right? But what a lot of people do is they do what I call pickling. They'll put the vegetables in vinegar and they'll let it sit. That's not fermenting because there's no living bacteria in the vinegar. It has other benefits, but when you make it yourself, it like a sauerkraut, a kimchi, a pickle, then it's literally alive. Every time you take a bite, like it's like billions and billions of bacteria in your mouth. and they're good for your mouth. They're good for your whole digestive system. So you could take the probiotic, but if you get a little bit of fermented foods, again, you got to go easy. There's a lot of people who they overdo the fermented foods, and it can cause a little bit of a little funniness. But I'll tell you one more thing. Like there's like a new fad diet I keep hearing about. It's like the low histamine diet. So it's like it's like all these things. Again, Jeff Palmer is so great at explaining this. When you change your microbiome by eating a lot of different colors and a lot of different fiber, whole food, plant-based, you're getting, like, people can't eat gluten. Some people have a genetic thing, but most people with the gluten, if you get your microbiome really robust, you're going to be able to break down the gluten, the histamines. You won't have the histamine issue. It's like once your microbiome is not good, then you have all the food sensitivities.
wow. Okay, wow,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. Okay.
Yes. It's complicated. It's like, why does it have to be so complicated? Like
Right.
it's simple. It's simple. Just keep eating plants until you feel good. Just keep eating them. But people want instant gratification and like no pain. It's like so it's like, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to help.
Well, that's very interesting. I'm looking at the comments here, and Lucy's watching. I'm going to see her soon after this. Microbiome needs to be healthy for our gut, and an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Yes.
So,
And here's JJ. Do you recommend lots of raw food?
yeah, I actually probably eat like 75-80% raw. Just like, again, I follow like the fiber fuel diet, like the recommendations, and like Dr. Furman. But basically, I do cook my beans. I cook grains, even though sometimes with grains, like there's some type of soft wheat and like oats, you just soak them overnight and then you don't have to cook it. So I eat that technically raw. But I cook my grains, my beans, and one more thing. Oh, and potatoes. I do make potatoes. But no, I eat like tons of like vegetables raw every day. But I don't know about that. Some people say like they're eating all raw and they feel great. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, the science shows me that the beans are really important right now. But I'm open to anything. Like, I might wind up on that eating all raw.
Right. Yeah. I've been eating a lot more raw also, and making big salads because JJ was having a challenge. She think it might be maybe it was last week, a challenge about eating a big salad for dinner every night. And so then I made a giant salad, which was great. So let's see. Here's we got some great comments. So Ellen saying her brother-in-law is treating his Parkinson's with fermented food.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, that's wonderful because we don't really think. I mean, a lot of times we don't connect what we eat to our health, and I don't know how that just seems so illogical that I would say that, but it's true. I mean, I've had people tell me
I
it's
know
more
exactly
than that.
like I figured that out when I was like 23. It hit me. Some people, like, it never hits them, and it's just crazy how That should be the most obvious thing we learn.
Yeah.
It's not even
Yeah.
a conversation. It's just like, you have a problem, take this drug. That's really like the world we live in.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I
I went
think
to
that's true. I'm not even exaggerating, because I just talked to my family, and like that's literally what they think.
are they, so they're not whole food plant based?
No. Oh no. I don't. That's why I need your support group. I don't really have
Okay.
too many people. Like I have yeah.
Well, welcome to the club because
Okay.
our families don't want to hear it. So yeah, but that's very interesting. So let's. I got another good comment here, and JJ saying I didn't realize that sauerkraut is not even good if store bought. Thanks for sharing that.
Well, listen. Yeah. I mean, if you go, I was in like Walmart the other day, and it was like a pound of sauerkraut. It was in the refrigerator, so it might have been raw. It might have had some been alive. It's in a plastic bag, which I don't like, especially with the acidicness. But then it was like $8.99 for a 16 ounce. So for the price of a cabbage, you could make a 32-ounce mason jar. That's what I use in my program, and you can do it for the rest of your life. You could pass it on to your children. You know what I mean? So it's so yeah, just it's everyone's like, I don't have time. It's like, it's less time than putting it in your cart and like going, it's really no time. You're literally just chopping up vegetables and putting in some salt water, and yeah. So
That's what I hear too. I don't have time to cook. Well, what about the time you're sitting in the restaurant, which is probably at least 30 minutes,
thank you.
driving to the restaurant, right?
Well, I just changed my messaging. It says like, I teach you how to make the healthiest food, taste super delicious, and in less time and money than it takes to go to the drive-through.
Well, that's a good selling point right there. Yeah, because
Seriously, and I'm not even. It's not even like a marketing thing. It's literally true. Like like I just posted something on my Instagram. It's like 5 minutes, under $5, and it was like a whole tray of like sweet potatoes, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, onion. I just threw it on a tray and baked it, and I don't have to sit over the oven watching it bake. And I literally just pulled it out, and then it's done. And then I just pack it up, and I can eat it for like 5 days to come.
right. Well, yeah, I love sweet potatoes and Brussels sprouts, and I cooked a big bag. Well, I got the instant pot, which I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. I'm so
Oh
scared
no,
of
I
it. I
liked
don't know
it.
what to be scared of. It's so easy. I cooked chickpeas, then I cooked rice, and then I cooked pinto beans. And so it's like, oh my gosh, what am I thinking? I'm like my own worst enemy here, saying it's so
We all
hard,
are. We all are.
right? Right? Yeah. So definitely. And JJ is saying that she's doing 85 to 90% raw. So here's Lucy. I love tofu. Is that a good option? I love tofu. Tofu is so versatile. Talk about that, Jason.
Yeah, tofu is interesting. It's not, I guess, technically considered a whole food, but tempeh. I don't know if you guys like
Oh
tempeh.
yeah.
Tempeh is whole food, and it's fermented, because you're getting like the whole bean. But tofu, a lot of people like it. I can't eat too much of it. It does upset my stomach a little bit. But I mean, in Asia, like that was what they ate for like 1,000, 2,000 years. So it's delicious. I love it. And if you cook it right, yeah, it's totally healthy.
Well, I need to learn. I've got tempeh sitting in my fridge that I haven't cooked or anything. I mean, do I treat it the same way as tofu?
Yeah, it's a little firmer. You could stir fry it. You can bake it. You can like boil it and stuff. Yeah,
Well,
just play with it. You can't go wrong, really. It's pretty easy.
well, I'll definitely try it. And all right, so definitely we're going to tell Ellen how to connect with you and everyone else. But
Thank
first, I
you.
want to talk a little bit about this your background in Buddhism. I mean,
Oh
so
wow,
it seems like, right, if your background was in Buddhism, then you would automatically be vegan. So,
that's
right?
such a
That's what it
that's
seems like.
you're talking. This is a 2,500-year conversation that I'll summarize in a couple of minutes. But basically, the Buddha was technically born in Nepal, present-day Nepal, and he traveled for India for 45 years. And his policy was, and it's funny because a lot of people mistake this. He never said you couldn't eat meat, because the idea was you would go into town and beg for food. and people would put food in your bowl and you eat whatever you were given. But back then, almost everyone was vegetarian. They ate a little bit of ghee, but they worshiped the cows. So they treated the cows super well, and everything. But they were mostly vegetarian, right? But you're not allowed to, according to Buddhist principles, like you're not allowed to ask for an animal to be killed on your behalf. So if you go into a supermarket and buy meat, you're that's considered bad, very bad karma, Now what happened was Buddhism spread to like half the world. So it went to China, Korea, Japan. It went south to Thailand, Sri Lanka, and it went north to Tibet. And it was actually preserved the longest in Tibet. Now in Tibet, they're so high up, there's very little vegetables. They have barley, they have a couple of like sweet potato, like they're like this tiny little things. So for the nomadic people, the Buddha said, if there's no other food around, you could eat animals. But even then, you should treat them as good as possible. And they were completely different than going to a supermarket, buying a factory farm thing. And they would go out of their way to get animals that fell off the cliff.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, you could look that up. It's like they had this whole thing, and apparently it happened a lot. But even then, there were some Buddhist masters who were like, no, we shouldn't eat the animals. So they went out of their way to grow the barley, and they would do they would use the yak butter. They didn't even have cows; they had yaks. So anyway, so that's that. So I was kind of a lot of people who study Buddhism, they use that as an excuse to justify it. They literally say, well, I didn't kill the animal. But then there's this Buddhist master who says, if you can't split karma. So like if someone else kills the animal and 50 people eat the animal, all 50 people get the same exact bad karma from that animal, So it's really interesting. I had a play that I call it like the mental gymnastics. I had to do that to justify. I'm like, well, I'm going to help people by teaching Buddhism. So if I can't be my best, I believe that you needed meat to get your brain good. So like, I need to eat the animal so I can teach the Buddhism. But I'm going to pray that the animal gets reborn in a better life next time. But it's mental gymnastics. It's like karma gymnastics. But honestly, like I consider myself a really good Buddhist student for many years. But when I gave up the meat, it was and the dairy. But there are some people in China and Taiwan that do the vegan diet, pretty much mostly vegan diet.
Are they especially Buddhists or just, people in?
Well, when I was in China, I wasn't even actually a vegetarian at the time, but I was with these two Swedish guys who were vegetarian, and like they were told that when you go into a restaurant, if you say vegetarian, they're still going to give you meat or eggs and everything. But if you say I'm a Buddhist, they'll give you actual vegan food. So in China, it was a big Buddhist thing. So yeah, it was really just, it just felt so good to like, because yeah, it's and now that my eyes are open to like, I go even to my teachers. I'm like, how can you eat that? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a sentient being, that.
So you go to your Buddhist teachers and say that?
Yeah, I actually challenged one of my teachers the other day.
And what did they say?
He kind of said he said something. I don't want to like say anything bad about my teacher, but I think he might have just been. I think they play these mind games with you. But he said it's the same thing to kill a mosquito. I said no, it's not. It's absolutely not the same thing. And it's like it's worse. Like in Buddhist terms, it's worse to kill a human than it is to kill like a mammal. But it's worse to kill a mammal than it's to kill like a mosquito. Like there is something to that, and like every time we take a step, we're stepping on bugs, So we want to do as little harm as we can.
Right.
So yeah, that's just my little Buddhist thing. But yeah, no, it's because that's the interesting thing. I don't want to get too deep into my mystical beliefs, but I really do believe that there was like a Garden of Eden. Even if you just believe we came from Africa, There was a
Right.
time when there were fruits growing that we can't even imagine. Like every day I'm learning about new fruits. You go, like there's something new. So I just imagine there was a time when we all had access to the best fruits and vegetables. Everything was organic. We didn't have to, it's just growing avocados and all this delicious stuff. And then they even talk about like rice growing that's already cooked and stuff. So something happened to the earth, and we wound up having cold weather, and so yeah, there's like when it came down to survival, and there was nothing but meat available. It's understandable, but now in 2023, if you have access to this food, it's going to be the best thing for your health, and obviously, it's going to be like the best thing for your karma.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I just actually, Dr. Will Tuttle came to my church and
I
this
saw
past
that.
week.
I
Yeah, and
saw,
he
I
was
saw your interview with him. I saw your interview
oh,
with
did
him.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. My interview and to have him at the church was very interesting. We went to
nice.
dinner first. He only eats organic, and he said
Mhm.
he hadn't been to a doctor in 50 years. So he's standing there in great health. I hope this isn't cutting out, but yeah, 50
Good.
years he hadn't been to the doctor. And so I don't even know what the point was,
Well, no,
but
it's amazing. Like whole food plant based. Like he's a true whole food plant based guy. It's like when you get it, you just get it, and it just makes sense. Also whole food plant based. We don't use a lot of salt. You know,
right.
so and it's interesting though. Again, when you eat less oil and salt for like 2 weeks, your taste buds actually change. So then when you do eat salt, you get so much flavor out of it. So you need so little. And that's where also I recommend like some like kelp, some seaweeds, give it that salty umami flavor.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I've heard that too about the just give it 2 weeks and your taste buds change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing. That's wonderful to know. So let's see what Tiffany's saying. The giant factory for pigs they're building in China is so sad. Yeah, that is very, very sad. I mean, pigs are such beautiful beings, and I've been talking to, well, a lot of friends about looking into their eyes, and you can really see the emotions of these beautiful creatures. Yeah, and so
So
thank
that's one
God.
of my favorite things is looking at even a bug. I love to just look in its eyes and just know it has consciousness. It's alive and it knows I'm there. It's like it's such a beautiful experience. And again, like that sense, it's hard to put words to it, but that sense is what really changed in me. Like, oh, and by the way, like I had really bad gut issues since I was like 7 years old, like really painful all the time. And I kept doing like keto, all these different things, thinking like, oh, what do I have to eliminate? These elimination diet. Within like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of doing the whole food plant based, like as Dr. Lou recommended for me, like I noticed like for the first time I wasn't in pain. Like I said, I was bloated and stuff, but the pain went away. So I knew I was onto something because I never felt that kind of relief for so long. So
That's a great testimonial. Yes, and
yeah,
there's so many people out there. Like so many people could be healed
I
from
know.
arthritis, diabetes. Oh my gosh, our bodies want to change. Our bodies want to heal us,
Well,
right?
this is exactly this is why like it feels so weird that we discovered something that's just such a win. And it's so, and everyone's like, well, everybody's different, everybody's body's different. It's like not really. Like we're really supposed to eat the same food. Like if you believe in evolution, like we all used to be gorillas like for millions of years, and then we've only been human for this long. So wouldn't it make sense that we could still eat what we ate when we were gorillas? It's like it's just so weird.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I never thought about that, but yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So definitely, and well, I mean, there's many people that have been vegan their whole life. Not many, but there are people that they're
Yes.
not falling over, right? I mean,
Oh,
and
no.
you're talking about Jeff Palmer. He's been vegan for so long. I mean, look at him. He's
38
in
years.
great, yeah, great health. So
You mentioned that. That's good. I'm going to put that in my presentation. I just saw there's like a fourth generation vegan family. Like they're like just vegan, 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 and they're super healthy. So Just gonna,
Yeah.
I just need to put that in front of people, like all these myths that I wish someone showed me, but I wasn't really open either, so it's my own. That I wish I discovered it sooner.
Right. Well, you got to be ready, right? So we got to go for the low hanging fruit, the people that are
That's
ready,
exactly
and let the other one, right?
that's exactly. I literally used that phrase today because I was literally going through some type of a little crisis, like because I just keep being around beautiful people. But then I see what they eat. I'm like, don't you see that? Like they're saying beautiful things about consciousness and about the environment and nature, and then they're eating a sausage.
Well, they're not. I mean, they don't. They're not making the. I mean, it's easy not to make the connection, between eating a sausage and because they don't know how much meat is destroying our environment. We're like 40% of our land on in this planet
Oh,
is taken up by animal agriculture, and that's
I didn't know that. I knew that. I just heard. I hear this many times from some really smart people. Like 85% of the carbon emissions, like they're blaming it on the car. We need to have an electric car. No, it's the animal. It's coming mostly from the animals. Like this is just the craziest thing. Like yeah,
it's
it's mind
terrible. I
blowing.
mean, and then all that waste. Not only do the animals have to live in that horrendous. I mean, they stand in their own waste. I mean, the ammonia it burns their skin, and I don't want to go into a lot of that, but
Yeah,
that all that is destroying. All the waste is going into our lands, our rivers, and the towns that are the people that are living there. I mean, this is
yeah.
discrimination. They
And
can't
there's like
move.
a solution that would turn everything around. Our health, which is so rapidly declining. I'm sure you've heard that this generation is expected to not even outlive their parents because it's because of the malnutrition and all the toxins. And again, animals accumulate more toxins in them. So when you eat animals, you're getting more toxins, and it's
Yeah,
just
I know. It's
it's almost like
terrible.
we're in some like crazy movie. Like, is this for real? Like how like we have a solution to like most of the world's problems. And here's the thing I have to add though, is when you eat food, plant-based, whole food, plant-based food, like mine. Oh, by the way, I'm cooking for like 60, 70 people tomorrow. I already did it today. So I already cooked for 70 people today. And I'm here for an interview, like, because it's because I have like a whole system. But the point is, like, it's so delicious when you're mixing. Like, I put like apples in my salad. Like, I chop up apples and I have pickled balsamic onions and potatoes and sweet potatoes and pickles and dressing with tahini. Like, it's literally the best tasting food you could eat. Like yeah, if you eat a steak or if you eat cheese, your brain makes a lot of dopamine, so it feels like, oh, this is so good. But it's a very it's a very like crude feeling. Whereas if you're mixing all the different flavors of plants and like different colors on the plate, it's such a nicer experience. It's like, again, I just want to emphasize like how this is like such a blessing that we have this. And it's
Like,
just like it's not
yeah,
just it's not just that I want to see my friends healthier. Like, I want to see them healthier. I want to see the earth better. I want, so that's why it's so triggering when I hear people just shut down the argument without even listening. But I know, like you said, the low hanging fruit. That's the shut
right.
down.
Yeah. They're not ready. So, yeah. I mean, just like we weren't ready the whole time. But so there's so many comments, and we're going to have to wrap this up. I mean, we could talk all night, but I
I
do have
know I'm enjoying this.
to. But, and so someone is asking Lucy what she feeds Ladybug. So please answer that, Lucy, for everyone to know. But so anyway, yes. That's funny. That's what my name means, by the way. Mariquita means ladybug. So
That's
that's,
awesome. I love
but
that.
anyway, so, all right. So tell us, I mean, any last comments, and tell us for sure where to get a hold of you and your program.
No, last comments is, I know this is a vegan empowerment channel, so it's just, there's a lot of companies out there trying to sell you overpriced not whole food, stuff. Which, if you trace it, is probably not vegan if you go into how the chemicals they put in it are made and everything. So, yeah, just try to, just think rainbow and try to get as much fiber. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. And so on Instagram, it's culinary.wisdom. Culinary.wisdom. That's a good way to send me a message, and you can see all my food. I'm getting better at taking pictures, so that's cool. I guess I'm, so. And if they mention this, I'll give them the fermentation. So yeah, I'd love to talk to people. I love community, especially since don't have much plant-based community. But and then I have a YouTube channel, Culinary Wisdom as well. And
Culinary Wisdom, everybody. Subscribe to that and subscribe to mine. So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, please. I can talk forever.
Well, so did you say IG?
IG is culinary.wisdom.
Okay.
The website is culinarywisdomskills.com. But if you don't remember that, just go Culinary Wisdom on Instagram, and Jason Demchok at gmail.com, and then on LinkedIn, Jason Demchok.
Facebook?
Facebook. Oh, yeah, Facebook. Yeah, I forgot that one. Right? Facebook. Jason Demchok on Facebook. I don't have a Culinary Wisdom page yet, but I have to make that. But I've been so busy just meeting cool people like you. This is much more fun.
Well, Angela introduced us, right? Angela,
yes.
Yeah, she's wonderful too. And so it's a great community. And so
it is such a good community. Like, it's what I mean. I can't, like, every time we keep talking, like, ever since I became whole food plant-based, like, it's just everything. I got the community. I got the delicious food again. It's just I'm just so grateful.
I know. It's a great way to live. So this has been very exciting. It sounds like we can find you. We just Google your name, look you up, and the Culinary Wisdom, we can find you. Definitely subscribe to all of our channels, please, because we got a lot of great information. We're here to help you. If you have questions, reach out to us afterwards if you're watching on the replay, because we want to bust these myths, and we want you to be thriving and prosperous in old age. We don't want you with a bag of pills. My gosh, no. That's no way to live. So Jason,
it's literally 2 weeks in your life that you have to transition, and then you're gonna love the right food.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. All right. So yeah, we're here to help, and let's see. Thank you all. Let's see whatever. And Ellen, you got the information how to reach out to.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody. This is wonderful. And please reach out. We are here. Thank you, Jason. And I'll do the Namaste Vegan. Namaste Vegan for everybody.
Namaste Vegan. I'll speak to you afterwards.
All righty. Thanks, everybody.